Haunted Pines. Welcome to Haunted Pines, true and bizarre stories including the paranormal, true crime, extraterrestrials, monsters, and more. I'm Nomar Slevik, and tonight's story takes us to Pennsylvania, where a police officer happened upon something wildly peculiar. This is the Westmoreland Entity. Part 1. The Light by the Road. It was a warm evening in late August 2017. The stretch of road was quiet, thick woods pressing close on both sides. A local police officer was driving his usual patrol route, headlights cutting through the darkness, when something caught his eye. Off to the right, near the edge of the tree line, he saw a soft, dull ball of white light. It was low to the ground, unnaturally still, glowing faintly against the underbrush. He slowed down, confused. He'd patrolled the area dozens of times. There were no streetlights, no houses, no reason for any light source at all. As he got within about 50 yards of it, the light moved. Part 2. The Entity. What the officer first thought was a light on the ground stood up. He realized too late that the ball of light was not an object at all. It was a head. And attached to that glowing head was something tall, thin, and it felt terribly wrong. The officer said, quote, "It was the weirdest thing I have ever seen," end quote. The being towered over the roadside bush, at least 6 feet tall, maybe more. It was skeletal, with long, spindly arms and a narrow waist. The dull white glow from its head faintly illuminated the top half of its body, casting pale light across its shoulders and chest. The officer could only stare. The head, roughly 8 to 10 inches across, was smooth, almost egg-shaped. There were no facial features, just light. Its skin, where visible, looked grayish blue, stretched thin over bone. For a moment, it was motionless. Then, it turned toward him. Part 3. The Impossible Speed. The officer said the creature slowly pivoted, first to the right, then back toward him, then suddenly to the left. And in an instant, it moved. Quote, "It was so fast. It was there, and then it was gone," end quote. He caught a glimpse of its arms swinging as it bolted away into the darkness. Motion to him that seemed human-like, but also unnaturally smooth and too precise. The being then disappeared into the woods, leaving only a faint afterglow from its head that faded almost immediately. The officer sat frozen for a moment, hands gripping the wheel. Then he pulled forward. parking where the creature had stood. He swung his spotlight toward the tree line. There was nothing. No footprints, no broken branches, and no movement. There was just silence in the empty woods. Part 4. Nothing fit. The entire encounter lasted barely 10 seconds, but in that brief span of time, everything the officer understood about the world had changed. He replayed it again and again in his head, and he was trying to explain to himself what he saw. Could it have been an animal, a trick of the light, someone with a flashlight or a headlamp? But nothing fit. He described the thing's body as almost human, but wrong. It wasn't a mist or spirit, it was solid. A living thing. Something that he thought shouldn't exist. And yet, it had been there, in front of him. And when it was gone, it was just him in the darkness. Part 5. Pennsylvania's Strangeness. Westmoreland County isn't new to the unexplained. For decades, this quiet region of Pennsylvania has produced a staggering number of reports. Creatures, lights, and things that slip through the cracks of reason. In 1973, farmers near Youngwood claimed to see glowing orbs hovering over their fields, followed by sightings of tall, thin creatures that moved like shadows through the corn. In Greensburg, a man driving home at dusk saw a figure with glowing red eyes. It stepped across the road and then vanished into the brush. It then reappeared on the other side of the road in the blink of an eye. And along Chestnut Ridge, hikers have told of hearing something large stalking them through the fog. Its heavy footsteps, its breathing was almost mechanical. Whatever the Westmoreland Entity was, it seems to belong to that same gallery of impossible things. The strange and the luminous things. And they move at the edge of our own humanity. The only reason we know about this incident is because the officer shared their experience with researcher Stan Gordon, a longtime Pennsylvania resident and investigator. They also made a sketch, which serves as the cover of this episode. A link to the image is also in the show notes. Stan Gordon said of this encounter, quote, "There have been other reports somewhat similar, and there have been other cases reported where the creature involved had a glowing effect in the dark. During the many years that I have been investigating such cases in Pennsylvania, I had the opportunity to interview state troopers and municipal police officers who also reported some very strange encounters. In most cases, they talked with me confidentially about what had taken place." End quote. So what are your thoughts? Do you think the officer really saw something strange that night? Have you seen something similar? Feel free to reach out and let us know at Haunted Pines Pod on Instagram or email us at hauntedpinespod@gmail.com. If you enjoyed tonight's story, please share the Haunted Pines podcast was someone who loves true tales and the unexplained. You can find other strange stories in my books, Humanoid Encounters, Granite Skies, UFOs over Maine, and my latest work, In the Pines. Check the show notes for links. Until next time, always be aware of your surroundings, for the night belongs to the ghosts. I'm Nomar Slevik, and this is Haunted Pines.